Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there, feeling fantastic, and having yourselves a great start to your Monday and to your week. I got you an update on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Monday. Got chances of severe weather to talk about. There's two areas to watch, and we'll break that down in this video. The chances for flash flooding have dropped significantly for today compared to the last couple days, so that's the good news. So not really much of that to talk about, but everywhere else, just a standard chance of showers and storms, typical summer kind of flow. But like I said, there is two areas we really need to focus in on this video, and we will certainly do that. And then we will have intense heating building back into Texas, where most of the state will get well over 100 degrees today. If not over 100, it will still be pretty miserable, as you will get into the 90s with high humidity. Death Valley, for example, will be very hot today in that entire region of the desert Southwest. We did not hit or really even come close to an all-time record yesterday in Death Valley. I think it hit 127 degrees, and I believe the all-time record in 1910 is 134. So really didn't even come close to it, and I don't think we'll come close to it today. In fact, it might be a few degrees lower, but we'll talk about the heat too. We'll talk about everything. And we'll even give you an update on the tropics at the tail end of the video. Stay tuned for that if you're interested. I'm thinking as we get to the later part of the month of July, there might be some noise out there in the tropics. And, you know, I'm not one of the people who are just going to talk on things to death. I really want to see some model consistency and agreement, more importantly. And as it does, we'll talk more and more on that. But with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rolling this morning. Water vapor loop. It shows the pattern very, very well. If you look here, it looks like a roller coaster. I'll wake this thing up to see if it'll work. It is, so we're good to go. Look at this. It goes up, and then it goes down. Okay? Goes all the way down, then it goes right back up. So we kind of got like a roller coaster flow out there. The water vapor loop shows it very, very well. And really what's happening is you got a ridge of high pressure over this region, baking the southwest and portions of the south central U.S. You got a little bit of troughing right over this portion of the country. And then we have ridging that's beginning to build, but this is somewhat just a buckled pattern where the jet stream is dipping really. But there is a steady northwest flow into this region right into here. So this is going to cause forcing from thunderstorms in just general region. I would actually extend this down into Arkansas, western sections of Tennessee. And then you're also going to have enough lift for thunderstorms into areas of Ohio too, where basically the main winds aloft support forcing for some strong and severe storms in this entire region today. But there's two specific areas we need to focus in on, and we will do that in this video. We'll get off this. Okay, we're good to go. All right, and we take a look at what's going on radar right now, and we do have some strong to severe storms kind of heading right on through areas of southwest Iowa. This will dip into northern Missouri later this morning. By the time I'm done with this video, it'll probably be doing so. Even a strong storm here in southern Nebraska. And this is just that standard northwest flow. As you can tell, it's moving in from the northwest, dipping southeast, along basically the jet, which is basically buckling up, then buckling down because of troughing. Troughing meaning a cold front, just basically a buckle south in the jet stream. And remember, wherever the jet is, normally that's where all the weather flows. So, and we got a big area of showers and storms moving through sections of Missouri, southern Illinois, southern areas and southwest sections of Indiana, and even western Kentucky this morning. So you're waking up to a rainy Monday morning. This storm is even severe as we are kind of closer, well, south of the St. Louis area, right around Chester, Perryville, Farmington. You do have a strong to severe storm. Actually, it is technically a severe storm right along this region that will enter the southern Illinois region a little bit later here in the next hour or so. But this area will be the main focus of strong to severe storms again later this afternoon to this evening, and that'll be a big topic. Speaking of severe weather, the Storm Prediction Center outlook, a slight risk in this region, which includes central, western Kentucky, a very small section of southwest Ohio. That does include Cincinnati. This includes Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky. Like I said, Cincinnati, and includes all of southern areas of Indiana, and then a very small section of extreme southern Illinois. This could change on the next outlooks. This could broaden. I would not be surprised one bit if we get a slight risk extended back into southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, and I'll talk about why here in a second. But there is a marginal risk that extends all the way back to this slight risk. Marginal is a level 1 out of 5, slight level 2 out of 5. And you got this slight risk right here where I'm expecting most likely an area of organized storms that will move through this entire region right here that will have a chance to produce damaging winds and large hail, maybe significantly large hail, which is 2 inch in diameter or larger. Tornado threat, less than 2%. So that doesn't mean there's a 0%. It's just less than a 2% chance. Wind threat, you got in both of these areas a 15% risk of winds exceeding about 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the hail threat, you got a 15% risk in both of these yellow areas of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And then in this black outlined area, you have a 10% risk of significant hail, which is 2 inch in diameter or larger. So we'll watch out for this today, but these are the main threats for severe weather. Excessive rainfall outlook, not a whole lot to speak on, just a few, several areas of a marginal risk. But I mean, really, guys, I normally don't even bring this up unless there's a slight risk, but flooding threat is low today, but not non-existent. So remember that. We look at watches and warnings. The reason I keep pulling up this, I love looking at Pivotal Weather's version of this a lot better, but for whatever reason on Pivotal Weather, it does not show air quality alerts. But most of the state of Indiana, central and southern Michigan, the Chicago region in Illinois, all of Iowa, pretty much all of Pennsylvania, pretty much all of New York State, sections of New Jersey, even sections of North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky have air quality alerts. And you're thinking, why is this? And it's because the smoke. And most likely you guys already know that, as you're probably waking up to a smoky sunrise in this portion of the country. But just remember, some of the smoke can make it all the way down here into the southeast. You got heat advisories, excessive heat warnings up for the heart of Texas and a lot of areas of Oklahoma, almost all of Arkansas, almost all Louisiana, western sections of Mississippi. The southern tip of Florida, where it has been awfully humid and hot down here around the Miami area, Everglades region. Excessive heat warnings in the desert Southwest, where it will just be baking, just a furnace out here, quite literally. So very hot. National Hurricane Center update, and this is not when we will discuss the tropics. We'll do that towards the end of the video. Briefly, but we still have subtropical depression Don, so it has weakened. We kind of thought this was going to happen. This is forecast to become a tropical storm again sometime midweek. But like I said, Don will stick with us for the foreseeable future, all the way into this weekend. It will continue to just do a loop-de-loop. Don is definitely drunk out there in the Atlantic, just chilling with the fishes, just having a grand old time. So no threat to land. Might bring some heavy swells into Newfoundland or Nova Scotia later this weekend, but that's about it. We look at the wildfire smoke model, if you will. So this kind of just indicates where the thickest smoke is, where the more vibrant colors is. And we're waking up this morning with it very thick around the Chicago area, Indiana, Illinois, all the way down to Tennessee, Alabama. I mean, even if this isn't showing those vibrant colors on your area, there is a chance that you're waking up to some thick smoke. Let me know what you're seeing out there. But this will maintain in basically the same regions throughout the day. Kind of some of the same areas that could see some strong to severe storms. We'll be dealing with some smoke also. So you're going to be dealing with some hazy skies, and even in the deep south, the southeast, the mid-Atlantic areas of the northeast, and the Ohio Valley for sure, even into areas of the Midwest. So if you see me crinkling up my nose, feel like I'm about to sneeze, but hopefully I don't. But this will continue, and then we'll wake up to a very smoky sunrise tomorrow morning for areas a little bit further east and northeast into the Ohio Valley and into areas of the interior northeast. Let's talk about the southeast today. I'm not going to zoom into the deep south, Florida and the Carolinas and Virginia like I always do, because today is just your standard chance of pop-up showers and storms. And we get into the afternoon, I think along the coastal regions of the Carolinas, maybe even Georgia, could get a pop-up storm or two. It is quite possible. Really, the big storyline is up into this region, which we'll zoom into all these regions up here in a second. But just standard pop-up activity. You'll finally probably will get a break in Mississippi today, where you've dealt with strong to severe storms over the last several days. Florida, just standard pop-up showers and storms. Just standard, typical summer kind of flow out there for this region. Really, anybody and Florida could get a pop-up shower or a storm. So don't let it catch you by surprise. If you're a Floridian, I'm sure it does not, as it happens just about the same time every day. But as we get into this evening, HRRR model does like I said, along the coastal regions of Georgia and the Carolinas, potentially, or just inland, kind of some just inland showers and storms. If you've ever been at the beach, a lot of times, you'll be chilling on the sand on the actual beach, and then you look just inland, like behind the hotels and stuff, and you'll see these big old cumulus clouds and big old towering storm clouds, but they never quite make it to the actual coastal region. But if you work your way about 5 to 10 miles inland, it's storming like crazy. This is probably going to be a day like that today along the coastal regions of the Carolinas and Georgia. Would not be surprised one bit. Excuse me, guys. But along the eastern sections of Florida, it could be quite stormy too. But let's zoom into these regions. We'll talk about, Arkansas points northeast all the way up to Kentucky, areas of Missouri, southern Indiana, Illinois, all the way up to Ohio. So we take a look at the HRRR model with this area today. If you're confused about what time frame we're at, back this up 1 hour. And this is in Eastern time, so we'll see and what happens as we get into the afternoon hours into this region. But this is about early afternoon, and we keep moving this in motion. And by the time we get to about 4 p.m., we got some scattered strong to severe storms, and basically the southern half of Missouri. We'll talk about Kentucky, southern Illinois, Indiana here in a second, so bear with me. These will form in probably southern Missouri. They could drift into the Boot Hill, Missouri if you live in Poplar Bluff, Jefferson City, all the way up to Columbia, Missouri. These could form early in the afternoon. Then they will drop southeastward. These will move, even Springfield, Missouri, even Joplin could get some strong to severe storms. These will eventually drift into the Boot Hill, Missouri, for example, around 6 p.m., and then eventually make their way. I think they'll become more widespread in kind of northeast Arkansas, the Jonesboro area. They will drift their way into this region, and the HRRR model is saying they will dissipate, but we'll see what happens. But if you're in Dyersburg or anybody in western Tennessee, I would watch out later this evening for some storms to maybe work their way into western Tennessee. But this is how the HRRR model says this will happen, and then we're waking up tomorrow morning and we need to watch into the northwest corner of Missouri, and then areas of eastern Kansas for a stronger line of storms that works its way through. But if we back this up and we look at the FV3 model, because I think today is a classic example of models that are going to struggle. Remember I told you a while back, models struggle with the northwest flow event. So this is the FV3 model. Could show some big storms developing in southern Illinois. But we get into about the 4 p.m. time frame, and it shows some stronger storms in the northwest corner of Arkansas rather than the northeast corner of Arkansas. So it shows some very powerful storms potentially into western Tennessee, where 6 p.m. on the HRRR model doesn't show anything in western Tennessee. So it's good to note that just follow the general chance of strong to severe storms. I show you this as just pure guidance, but it's probably going to be different, right? It could be different in both of these models, but I like looking at both of these models and comparing them because I feel like the FV3 model has done pretty well lately. But you continue to go through, and this shows some activity making as far south as northern Mississippi, northern Louisiana later today, so watch out. If this model is correct, then Memphis could get some storms later this evening. But basically in this entire region, just watch out for some strong to severe storms in a nutshell. Up here in Kentucky, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, areas of Tennessee. We even cover southwest corners of Ohio in this. What's going on with these storms let's see if I can come up. Right in this region right here, these will continue to drift and take over most of western Kentucky over the next hour or two. And we'll go back to this. Let's make sure we'll go back to this right here. And these will continue to fly through Kentucky. They could potentially hold together. They will take more of a northwest to southeast flow and begin to make their way more of and flow more from a west to east. So they will kind of come to the bottom of this flow, and then they will begin to shift and move northeastward. Watch as this kind of comes in from this direction right here. And then they flow across Kentucky, and then they begin to drift further northeast. So, and you can see this well. If you look on Water Vapor Loop, you see how this is moving in this way. And we'll go on and get this right here. And you see how it comes down like this, and then it flows back up like that. And that's why these storms will be moving in, dipping in, and then moving up northeast. So it's pretty interesting, you know, seeing the dips in the jet stream and things like that. It's always interesting to actually see the main flow out there when it shows this well on Water Vapor Loop. But we'll go back to this, and we'll continue to deal with these showers and storms. They could drift all the way into eastern Kentucky, maybe even to West Virginia later today. We'll see how much those hold together. And then later, really later today into the early afternoon time frame, we could get some more storms that form, and then bang, you look at 3-4 p.m., you got some stronger storms developing in southern Ohio. I would say just east of Cincinnati, any kind of small town or community in southern Ohio, I would watch out for some strong to severe storms. It's not going to be an outbreak or anything like that. I wouldn't be super concerned, but just your typical chance for showers and storms in this region, and some, as always, could be severe, which is just normal summer stuff, really. But you get in the 5 p.m., 6 p.m. time frame. Some scattered activity begins to pop up in the southern half of Indiana. This could be as far north as Indianapolis, and certainly areas like Evansville, Bloomington, definitely the Louisville area have a good chance to see some storm activity later today. This will drift into the region, and I really think, if you're in any community in western Kentucky, I think, around 6 to 9 p.m., you could get a chance of strong to severe storms that roll through the area. But this will continue. You get to 9 to 10 p.m., still dealing with some storms in southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and, you could be dealing with this most of the night. You get into just after midnight, you're still dealing with some storms in southern Indiana, and then southern areas of Ohio. And, waking up tomorrow morning could still be dealing with some scattered downpours out there. So be careful in this region. Damaging winds, hail is the biggest threat. We'll see if anything increases in this region. But if you're wondering why we're having, so much storm activity in this region, well, like I said, the jet is flying right over these regions. So basically, you have winds aloft that support forcing for thunderstorms. So in general, this is winds in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. So you got about a 30, 40, 45 knot mid-level jet flying over this region of the Midwest into the Ohio Valley. So this creates kinematics forcing aloft for thunderstorm development. And that's why you're not seeing much thunderstorm development down here into the deep south, the Carolinas. And it's really because you don't have much oomph in the atmosphere, if that makes any sense. Much push in the atmosphere to really get these storms going. Yeah, you can have all the instability in the world, but do you have forcing, which really allows these thunderstorms to develop in this region? And all this is up here, and that's why you're going to have those scattered strong to severe storms, a little bit of a damaging wind threat, large hail threat. The kinematics work in that provides the forcing for these thunderstorms. And here it is right at the exit level of this mid-level jet, which is typically where you have the best thunderstorm development. You see how these gradient bars right here come into these regions, and then they begin to buckle like this. You see how they're buckling right into here? That tells us that's right where you're going to have that thunderstorm development. And you can see it pretty well. You see they're buckling right into here. So they're buckling all into this region right into here. So that is where you're going to get the thunderstorm development later today. But some areas in this region might not get a drop of rain. You guys know how it goes. You could be raining in the neighborhood about 2 miles up the road, and you guys might not be getting a drop of rain. That's just typical summer stuff. I know a lot of people think it only happens at their location, but I'm telling you, it happens to everybody. I had a really bad streak of luck. I don't believe in luck, but I guess I would say bad luck with it. It happened at my location for about 2 to 3 summers in a row, where we went 2 to 3 week periods without rain in the heart of summer, and man, it was brutal. Luckily, the last few summers have not been like that. But as far as the Northeast, most of the area is quiet. You cannot rule out an isolated downpour Long Island, Maine, really anywhere. New York State. The area of concern, I would say, if there is any concern, but like I said, just general but general just flow aloft with some showers and storms, summer type stuff. It really is. Would be in West Virginia. southern and southeast Ohio, western PA. This area right here cannot rule out some activity in Virginia, Delaware, whatsoever. So this will fly through, and then as you lose the daytime heating, it will diminish. So let's talk about this region. We kind of already talked about Ohio, but we'll watch whatever the leftovers of this morning storm activity will do as it enters West Virginia. Certainly, it could be more robust than this. It really could. But we'll see what happens. But we'll continue to work our way through, and then bang, storm activity fires up in southern Ohio, southeast Ohio. And I think if you live in this region, the Athens region, south of Columbus, there's not a lot of, Zanesville, Cambridge, all the way down to Parkersburg, Wheeling, the western panhandle right here, West Virginia, all the way into Pittsburgh, western PA. Some strong to severe storms. This is what the HRRR model is saying it's going to look like around 4 to 5 p.m. This afternoon. And you could certainly see some strong to severe storms working its way through this region, and then they will fly through the western West Virginia regions and western areas of PA, especially southwest PA, later into the afternoon as we're getting into the early evening time frame. This will make its way through. Even western Maryland, I would watch out. You could get some storm activity as the sun's going down this evening. And then even more shower and storm activity flows through the region. But I think as we get later into the night, as the sun's going down, this will definitely lose its punch. But damaging winds, large hail, biggest threat with this. Tornado threat, very low. And I meant to look at the FV3 model in the last region I just talked about. But really, honestly, both models are pretty much showing the same kind of scenario. Show some storms developing in southern Ohio, drifting into western areas of West Virginia. You could get some stronger storms a little bit further northwest into northwest areas of Ohio. That's certainly possible. The FV3 model shows a lot more activity a little bit further north. So we'll see how this plays out. Just be careful in this region today. South Central U.S., not a lot to speak on, except, I'd watch out Kansas later this morning into the early afternoon hours. Maybe a strong area of storms could blast through the eastern area of Kansas. And then we've already talked about this section right here, Missouri and Arkansas, for severe weather. Outside of that, an isolated supercell cannot be ruled out, and southern sections of Kansas, and even some activity, just south of kind of the Kansas City region is possible. But outside of that, this becomes a big story later tonight into the wee hours of the morning, as we could be waking up to a damaging line of storms making its way out of Nebraska into areas of Kansas or maybe even Missouri. This will probably pivot back and forth on the model somewhat. So we'll see what happens with that. But really, it's the high temperatures that are a big deal in Texas today, as temperatures will, just about everybody in Texas will get over 100 degrees. This is brutal. It continues to be brutal. It's been an awfully hot summer in Texas. You've gotten hardly no relief. A relief day has been just temperatures in the 90s. But it's been awfully hot in Texas. It really has. Dallas-Fort Worth area will get over 100 degrees a day, and then 105, 106 degrees in the heart of Texas. And you look at the heat index in this region today. Of course, if you don't know, the eastern half of Texas is where most of the higher dew points sit. So, you're going to get some dew points that are going to be well into the 70s, obviously, like they are right now. Heat index get over 120 degrees. South of Corpus Christi today, along these areas right here where you're right up against the western Gulf of Mexico. So you got that moist flow moving into these air temperatures that are over 100 degrees. The heat indices will be ridiculous in this region, well over 105 degrees all the way up into areas of Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma. Temperatures will be brutal. The north central U.S., we've already kind of talked about what's going on in northern Missouri. These will continue to work through, and just standard showers. It'll be kind of cool and crisp in northern Minnesota, especially northeast Minnesota. Beautiful area of the country out here. The UP of Michigan is definitely the second or third place I would love to live. I know, call me crazy, especially for you folks up north and even in the south. Why would you want to live somewhere like that? I just prefer cold weather. I love fall and winter. I just love everything about it. So. But most people who watch my channel know that by now. But the UP of Michigan, northern areas of Minnesota, just some showery conditions. Some of these could be kind of spurts of heavier downpours, especially in the eastern UP of Michigan. These showers could make it into northern Wisconsin. But really, we watch what happens with this cluster of storms in South Dakota a little bit later this evening into the overnight hours. And really, that's what we'll focus on. But I want to make note of this right here, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about now. And we'll work our way into the morning hours, getting into the early afternoon hours. And this flies off the upper portion of this ridge, and then it begins to sink southeastward from the northwest. We call this that northwest flow. And watch as it kind of comes up, and then it begins to clash down. And I mean, this could really crank up later into the day. So, for example, this is around 6, 7 p.m. You know, if you're in Montana, let's get the Google Maps right here. If you're in Montana, any small town community in Montana, Miles City, for example, you know, watch out for some storms that could produce some damaging winds, some large hail that might fly through this region later this afternoon into the evening time frame. And then we will see what these will do as they move downstream. They ride that ridge downward. And as they do, they could certainly produce some damaging winds, some large hail as they enter western sections of South Dakota. Watch out Rapid City right around when the sun is setting in this region. It could get quite intense. Large hail, damaging winds, tornado threat cannot be ruled out. But this is the cluster of storms that I'm watching. And really, if you look at the HRRR model, it doesn't look that scary. It doesn't look very intense, but it very well could be. And, you know, it discusses in the Storm Prediction Center that, you know, that the ingredients are certainly here for that large hail and the damaging winds. So we need to be aware of this. And even more energy might fly through southern and central sections of Montana. And you might even get another cluster of storms into the middle of the night into southeast sections of Montana. But this is the little cluster of storms we watch. And really, it looks like it becomes more intense as you get later into the night. 1, 2, 3 a.m. These storms look really intense as they are moving out of southern areas of South Dakota. So, you know, even Rapid City, but all the way down, you know, and there just ain't a whole lot to really mention down here. But Pierre, South Dakota, Mitchell, South Dakota, even Sioux Falls. I don't see this really getting to you guys, but any small town or community in southern South Dakota, just after midnight tonight, I would really watch out, or even maybe just before midnight. And this cluster of storms moves into northern areas in Nebraska, and could potentially will flirt with areas like Omaha, Nebraska, Lincoln, Columbus, Norfolk, Grand Island, all these regions right in here. Nasty line of storms could blast through the region around 4 to 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. But, you know, you look at the FV3 model with this. How does this compare to the HRRR model into this region? It's about the same. It's much more widespread. And it shows this cluster of storms really getting going more so, I would say, in Nebraska rather than South Dakota. And in general, it really moves this just in general further south. So it really doesn't affect areas deeper further north in South Dakota, and really surges right through northern Nebraska. But, you know, you see this nasty area of storms right in here around 3 to 4 a.m. This could really get going. This could, you know, threaten the Sioux Falls area, for example. So we'll see what happens. Complex setup today, as any ridge rider setup is. But you look at the HRRR model as far as max wind speeds, and this is just swaths right into here. And remember, some of these will be connected, and you do see some embedded 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gust embedded in this line of storms. And I can almost guarantee you're probably going to get that somewhat. But, you know, some gusty winds could move through northern areas of Wyoming. So please be aware of this today. Bad storms are possible, but could be very isolated into this region. Western U.S., pretty quiet. Not a lot going on. We'll watch this energy as it moves out of Idaho and then sparks those storms into this region that we just talked about. Could get some pop-up downpours in central Nevada. Even some downpours are possible in western areas of Utah, and you could even get some storm action. We back it up here. Some storm action is very possible just north of Las Vegas, maybe around the Las Vegas area. And then we'll watch for a cluster of storms. There's actually a marginal risk for flash flooding here in southern areas of Arizona. We'll watch for a cluster of storms down here in southern portions of the state, but you can have some scattered downpours, some rain, some storms are quite possible in certain sections of Arizona today, as these pivot around a high pressure that's right into here. They pivot just like that around this high. It's pretty interesting to watch how these storms just kind of turn around this area of high pressure right here. But I do want to mention very hot today in areas that it's normally very hot this time of the year, but there is a chance of rain. Okay, so it'd be interesting to see who gets rain today. This will do nothing but increase the humidity. But Death Valley going for around 122 degrees today. We'll see what happens. Could break some records in this region. Very hot day. Temperatures the rest of the country, the U.S. The Northeast, 70s and 80s, typical summer type stuff. You get down to the Mid-Atlantic, 80s and 90s. Same for the Southeast, high humidity. Texas will be baking. Oklahoma, southwest areas of Kansas, same deal, very hot. Very comfortable in the northern plains, upper Midwest. 60s, maybe even just some 50s, 70s, high temperatures, low humidity. Nice mid-July air mass up here for sure. Temperatures out west, well above average temperatures for the Southwest, but you're cooling off somewhat now for areas of the desert. The desert Northwest. Yeah, you're cooling off now for the Northwest, Pacific Northwest. A little bit more below average temperatures expected. Very hot all the way up into Montana. Areas of the plains of Wyoming and of southeast Montana could flirt with 100 degrees a day. Same with eastern areas of Colorado. So I do want to watch this area right into here. Just this entire region. We could get some tropical development here in the next week or so. If we do, we all know the Atlantic is very, very warm, well above average sea surface temperature-wise. So we'll see what happens. We're getting close to that time of the year. We're getting into late July. And if we look at the European ensembles from overnight, there is a signal here, but it's, you only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 members that are showing development of something out of 51, 52 members that make up the European ensemble. So that's a pretty low percentage. It's only, around 20% of these members that are showing something. But we need to watch out for this, because if anything does get going, the sea surface temperatures is basically rocket fuel. But there's other things that go into this too, like the upper wind patterns, things like that. Okay, how much shear do you have in dry air? You look at the GEFS ensembles, which I believe is running right now, but I think this is from overnight. It is. There is a weak signal for this too, but even less members. But less members make up the GFS ensemble. So we'll watch for this. This could become a storyline in the coming days. That's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great Monday.